I'm not even ready for this episode of Project Freelance, you guys. It's a doozy. All right, so on this week's episode of Project Freelance, I, your host, Kate Anagonio, I brought on a guest. My friend's name is Christina Rotondo. If you don't know who she is, go on this little website that I like to call YouTube and go look her up. Christina and I have been online friends for a number of years now. She is a vocal cover artist. She also plays guitar. She's just an all-around great fucking musician, talented ass person, beautiful human being, beautiful face, and the accent is to die for show. So if you guys want to say what's up to me, you can find me at K Anagonio Photography on Facebook and Instagram, K Anagonio on Twitter, and my website is kanagoniophotography.com if you would like to inquire within about something. So real quick, before we jump into this podcast, I just wanted to let you guys know that I am an Adobe affiliate. If you don't know what that means, basically that means that I give you a link so that you can download Adobe software, get a deal on it, and I get commission off of it. That's how I am currently funding this podcast. So if you would like to get involved that way, that would be sick. If not, there's other ways. You could buy a photo print from my website, kanagoniophotography.com. You could donate in Bitcoin if you really want to. There's also a link down there for that. And if you're looking to join some photography contests, there's some links down below as well. Sign up. Guru Shots, Viewbug, check them out. I love them. I've used them for the past 3 years. I am almost to I'm at the veteran tier right now. So I have 4 more tiers before I hit Guru. And then I can start hosting contests. Regardless, without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to the amazing Christina Rotondo. From being on Guitar Hero to being in video games as a voiceover artist to singing covers on YouTube to playing at giant festivals like Download Fest.
You only think you're holy, 'cause you know you'll never get caught. Pray with your hands deep to your chest, 'cause I am clutching mine.
Do you want me to start now? Or?
Well, don't you
Okay, cool. So my name's Christina Rotondo. I am basically what I would class as a musician, kind of content creator, just general creative, really. That's probably how I'd sum it up. Most active on YouTube, and I do a lot of covers and stuff like that.
So what made you want to get started in music?
With the whole YouTube thing, I think I pretty much uploaded because it was the only place that you could really upload decent videos and have them online. This was way back when Facebook's video uploading was rubbish. So I just kind of had a really rubbish acoustic guitar, and I would just play just rubbish covers to kind of get myself learning, and then I would upload them to YouTube, and then I think I would upload them to Facebook via YouTube, and I never really paid much attention to it, but I kind of got involved in music way back in school. I kind of joined the choir and stuff like that, and I remember something that my teacher said to me which basically just gave me a load of confidence, and I was like, oh, okay, she thinks I have a nice voice, and it kind of went from there, really.
Amazing to see how far you've come on YouTube, because you and I have watched each other's shit for a while, and we've done some stuff together. And how has YouTube influenced your music career outside of the internet?
Do you know what, it's kind of pushed me to do my own stuff. Obviously I do covers mainly, and the reason that I do covers mainly is because I'm personally the kind of person that finds it really, really hard to write music. So to me, finding that sound that I now have only just, to be fair, found, it means that I can kind of take covers of songs that I like and make that into the kind of music that I want it to sound like. But I think in terms of like outside the whole YouTube world, like it's just pushed me, because at the end of the day, like if I didn't have YouTube as like this kind of sole thing that I built off of, and like I didn't check my subscribers one day and think, oh damn, I've got quite a lot of like good stuff there, and if I didn't have like that support system, I genuinely don't think I would be in the place that I'm in at the moment. Like everything kind of leading up to now, I've only kind of really continued with because I created like that little community on YouTube, and it has helped me kind of like, I guess, just believe in myself and think that actually, do you know what, at least a little bit of what I'm doing is like, you know, people like it to some extent. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. So when it comes to, you know, uploading on YouTube and putting yourself out there, what would you say to people that are, you know, up and coming musicians that are maybe nervous about posting stuff online? Because I know there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this podcast that, you know, want to get started in music, but they don't really know where to start or how to start. So what would you say to them?
I mean, the first thing is like not the kind of advice you want to hear, but it is true. And I think if you want to start on YouTube, it is something that people kind of need to not know, but I mean, I guess it's just kind of like just kind of be aware thing. And that is that YouTube at the moment and YouTube now, it is really, really hard. Like it's the hardest it's ever been. And even for like someone like me, like the way that I talk about YouTube to other people and like kind of starting this little like community or whatever you want to call it, is that it's always relative to the person. So for me, like, you know, I've been going for ages, and there are people that like talk to me, or like I'll reply to a message and they're like, whoa dude, you're famous. And I'm like, I'm not famous, but it's relative to how everyone sees it. Do you know what I mean? So like, to me, I'm not really progressing as much as I would like to, but there are some people that I know that are like desperate to hit like their first 100 or their first 500 subs. And someone said to me the other day, which was a really good point, they were just like, look, if you're gonna upload on YouTube as it is now, you kind of need to go in it knowing that, well, not expecting anything out of it, because YouTube isn't necessarily going to give you anything back. And that's obviously something that I did. Like a lot of the time I get a lot of comments and stuff on my channel, and obviously like YouTube has like this kind of auto bot where it filters out spam, and that's so alien to me because I never ever did that growing up. And I think that if you are going to put content out there and you do kind of want to strive to build this community online, like obviously don't get me wrong, it's an amazing feeling, but like, you know, just number one, do it for the genuine reasons, and number two, like if you believe in the content and you really think that it, you know, you do have talent and you believe in yourself and everything, like that's kind of the way to do it, with your own belief, really. Like there are a lot of people who will make content and then when it's not getting anywhere, they'll get frustrated and they'll spam people, or a lot of their content is generated on like, you know, sub for sub, stuff like that. And it just, in my opinion, it doesn't work. Like it's just not genuine, and you need to kind of understand that it's not going to be an easy road at all, especially not in music on YouTube. But like if you put stuff out that is genuine and that you actually believe in it, like you've just got to keep doing the slog, really.
Wow, amazing advice all around. There's so many ways, like so many questions I want to ask now. So let's talk about, I mean, you have like really, really, really good point. Like it is so oversaturated now that it's hard to get noticed. So yeah, people start spamming and people are becoming desperate. And I've heard a lot of kids say like, oh, I want to do YouTube for my job. Like, okay, like that's, I don't think YouTuber is necessarily a job title, and people feel differently about this, but going into it for money is never the way to go, especially on YouTube, because like you were saying, we've been doing this I've been doing it for a decade at least, you know, which is insane to think about, but it's definitely changed now. It's definitely a lot harder. There's a lot more content out there. Like you said, like the algorithm's all messed up. Like people don't get notifications now. Like YouTube has completely changed. So for you as someone who primarily puts content on YouTube, where are you going to go next? Like what, is there another platform you're moving to? Or like, what do you think is going to happen as far as social media goes, especially as someone who like tries to make a living at it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, this is the thing about like being a musician on YouTuber. So a musician on YouTube even. And this is the part where like as a musician, you do have that extra layer of security. So like the main work that I do, like, because I'm consistent with uploads, etc., I do a lot of YouTube work, but I'm not necessarily a YouTuber. And that's the one thing that musicians have over other content creators that they might not have. So for example, like, you know, I do work on YouTube, but it's not my primary income. My primary job title is a singer. And I'm lucky in that way because I'm, for example, okay, I'm going to use a really generic genre on YouTube here, and that's gaming. And I've got some awesome gaming fans. And, you know, it's not to say that people aren't as talented as anyone else or something like that. But it's like, for example, if YouTube was to shut down tomorrow, I've still got extra kind of jobs and resources that I can go into. So outside of YouTube, obviously I do a lot of like live stuff, I do covers, I do weddings. I literally work with people all over the world because they like my voice or they want a singer, and that's kind of how I can sustain it. Whereas there are some people on YouTube who literally just solely rely on their AdSense income, and that's where I think people are getting a bit confused by it. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I want to become a YouTuber, because they think, you know, of like PewDiePie and like massive like people with massive names and massive subscriber bases. And yes, they are at that stage where they're probably getting loads of money from AdSense alone, but it's not something that's sustainable, and it's not something that is I mean, it kind of is aspirational, but like it's not something that's viable really. But like, you know, if you've got stuff that's outside of YouTube, then you're doing so much different creative stuff that's really cool. Like, you know, when I went to uni, I did media and I did arts and stuff like that. So like, to me, I really enjoy like filming, and I like the editing of it because it's just creative in general. So I think, you know, YouTube is a creative platform, and treat it as that. Treat it as a creative outlet. And I would say, like, you know, I don't know, like, be creative. Don't try to become a YouTuber. Just try to be creative. So for me, like, I don't know, I kind of went off a bit there, but I am basically just quite lucky in the way that I've got like loads of different things that I can do as well as YouTube. YouTube's just like another nice creative step for me, which is a nice outlet, really.
Yeah, I think for you and I and the people that have, you know, been doing YouTube for quite a while and have realized that, oh, I need to have a job outside of this. I need to have another way to support myself. I think we've started to see YouTube just as another, like, almost like another Instagram, because we're realizing like we weren't really in it for the money to begin with. And so now that YouTube's kind of falling apart, as much as it sucks that we're not getting that source of income, but it's almost like how it used to be as far as like the social media aspect of it, you know, like it is becoming like us as creators, like you said, we need to be more genuine and authentic because that's what people want now.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I'm trying to broaden my content as well, and it's not because, you know, I suddenly want to make loads of money on YouTube. Like, it, you know, it's just not how it happens really. But it, you know, look at YouTube as just another social media platform. And the problem is, I think, is that a lot of people will sign up to YouTube and they will see it as their be-all, end-all platform, whereas it's just an outlet, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, it's almost just like having another portfolio, except for, you know, then I also have like my vlog stuff and like all my like fun personal stuff. That's where YouTube is just like my fun little platform, you know, like, but like you said, like, I mean, personally, like, I don't get a whole lot of money out of YouTube. So, I mean, like, I've been doing this for a decade just because I love making stuff and showing and sharing it with people, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the authenticity I think that people like.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about your studies. So what did you study in school? You said you did like media, and what made you want to study that stuff, and what have you gained out of having, you know, that degree and that education?
Do you know what? The funny thing is that when I was at uni, I was in like my first proper band. And I actually spent a lot of the time at uni, like going on tour. So like a lot of people would, you know, go to uni and get really drunk and stuff. And for me, it was just kind of like way to really tour with people and meet new people and stuff like that. So I basically did media arts and creative sound design. So when you like watch a film and there's all those cool sound effects and stuff like that, that was me. I was like the sound design. I did a bit of Foley, stuff like that. My sound design lecturer was awesome. He was so cool. Like, he understood the whole music thing, and in general the course was just really creative. So I did a variety of stuff, like, you know, I would go on shoots at 6 a.m. and, you know, we would do end of year films and stuff. Sometimes I think I did a bit of producing, I did a bit of sound, a bit of post-production, and the reason that I actually applied for that course is literally because it had arts in the title. So a lot of media is called like media studies, and media arts just sounded a bit more creative, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I hadn't been to the uni or anything, but like, the life works in mysterious ways, because if I hadn't have gone to that uni, I would have never have met the guitarist that was in my band at the time. So yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, that's what I did. In complete honesty, it probably didn't, like, I didn't gain like this huge array of crazy skills that I didn't have. Like, I basically kind of went into uni knowing these kind of basic skills and logic, and I'd dabbled in it once or twice, and I had basic editing skills, and uni basically it just solidified them for me, really. So it just made me a little bit more aware of stuff. But I think it was the experience as a whole that I take away from uni, but like, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, definitely one of like the best 3 years of my life, easily.
Wow, that's hilarious and so amazing. So yeah, those of you out there that are trying to figure out what to study, look for arts in the name. That's the way to go.
Exactly.
That's how the universe works.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, that's amazing though. Wow. Okay, so tell me, like, how was it to go on your first tour with the band? Tell me about that experience.
It was so cool, and I miss it so much. Like, I want to get back into a band again, just for the pure purpose of touring, because it's just so much fun. So I was quite young when I went on. Well, I say quite young, like, it seems like I was quite young now, but I must have been like 18, 19. The thing is about touring is that you can't go into it expecting luxury, and you probably know that yourself. Like, it's literally like plain and blank as you want to say. For me, it was like getting into like this grotty van with like 5 guys, our manager who was a girl, like not really sleeping much, you know, crashing on people's floors, being cold a lot of the time. We went in March, and in the UK, like, it just snows at stupid times of the year, so it was like snowing when we were out on tour. We went out for 2 weeks straight, so for my first tour that was quite a long time. But I think, like, it's so hard to describe, because when you explain it to someone, like if you explain it to like a parent or something, they'll be like, what? This sounds like the worst time in the world. But it's just so fun. I think it's just because, like, you know, you're with people that like you really care about and you really enjoy being with, and you're all really creative. So, you know, a lot of the time there's someone there videoing stuff, like you just make loads of memories. And obviously, like, you're playing shows every night, and, you know, the money isn't great, the food isn't great, and stuff like that. And, you know, I haven't been on tour for ages since then. I don't suspect it's changed much, but it's just a load of fun, because it's kind of like just hanging out with your mates for a couple of weeks. But if anyone is listening and they're like, oh, I want to go on my first tour, I would highly recommend touring. It's great. It's a great way to like meet loads of new people and see loads of different places, basically.
Oh, no, definitely. And I have a similar, you know, first tour story, like crappy vans, sleeping in like random people's like basements, you know, like weird, just creepy, you know, just weird experiences. But I mean, like, that's also the exciting part of tour, because you have those stories. And like you said, when you try to explain this stuff to people, they don't get it. They're like, wait, so you're basically a homeless person? Is that what you...
Yeah. Oh. You go out on tour with like as little money as you can, because you don't want to spend too much money on food.
And you like pedal, you like try to get people to pay you to play every night. Tell me about the local scene over there, and getting into like music over there, and how you started to like find the bands that you toured with.
So the scene in London is a bit of an odd one, and to be honest, like, if there are any UK people listening, they might be like, okay, she's got it totally wrong, because obviously, like, I haven't done a lot of like local scene stuff since, you know, for years. But I mean, I used to live basically in London, which is like obviously centre, nice centre of the UK. And now I live in Nottingham. And Nottingham is a bit more, it's a bit more like accessible for everyone, so things are a lot cheaper. Obviously, like if you live in central London, like, prices to go and see bands are a little bit more expensive, or you won't really get paid that much, whereas if you're kind of outside the city centre, then it is a bit more open, and I think that's kind of why you hear a lot of people in the UK say that the scene is dying, and like, people don't go to shows, and in all honesty, like, it is really tough, especially if you are in London. I do find that, like, being outside of London though, it is a lot more open. Like, if I go to a gig round here, there will be way more people than there would be in London, and it's purely because London's just an expensive place, so it's harder to get a guarantee, and it's harder to like get people down to shows, but it really depends where you are. I do find that, like, where I am now, it's really cool. It's like a really nice little community, and like there's always something going on, really. But saying that, like, at the same time, there are loads of people who are like, the scene's dying, rock's dying, and all that stuff. There's so much good stuff on in London. So if anyone does like know the UK or anything, there is, for example, like this night called Face Down, which is in like the centre of London, and like a rock club in Camden, I think it's in, and I've played there once with like my old band, and it's awesome. Like, you've got touring bands like Hands Like Houses. We played with, they were playing one night that we played. You've got bigger bands there, and it's basically like this all rock night, so it's like there are really great opportunities. It's just, I think people get a bit put off by it because it can be quite expensive, whereas, like, I don't know what it's like in the US, but I obviously have like a lot of US followers, and a lot of them I find go to like house shows or like, I don't know, just local shows, and they're really, really cheap. So I think it's just a bit more like everyone's a bit more involved there, whereas it's harder to kind of secure that gig around here.
Yeah, and I also think something else that has to do with, like you said, because everything's so expensive, like, people don't want to pay to go to shows because of that. And that's why bands aren't coming to your town, because you're not going, like, paying to go to the shows.
It's different from like a £5 on the door kind of thing than it is like £12 on the door in London. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't want to spend that money on their friend's band, like, or they do, but it's just not, because everything is so expensive, it just makes it difficult.
Yeah, especially local shows. Like, I've been talking to a couple people on this podcast that have been saying, like, yeah, you've got the same bands playing every week at your local venue, so people are like, oh yeah, they'll come back, they'll play again. Like, that's another reason people aren't going to shows. Like, even international bands, you're like, oh, it's too expensive, I'm gonna wait, they'll be here for like a festival later, So I think that's also a huge problem when it comes to the dying scene, if you will, because I mean, like, the same kind of thing seems to be happening everywhere, honestly, because I've lived in Australia. It was the same kind of thing. People were like, man, these bands don't come here. Like, yeah, because you're not paying to go to the shows. And now I live in California, and like the local scene is kind of the same. So I think it's just now people don't want to pay to go to a show to see, like you said, bands that just will come back. So tell me about the festivals that you've played and the festivals that you've been to, especially Warped Tour, and how you feel about Warped Tour coming to an end, and your hopes for what's gonna come after.
Do you know what? I'm so gutted about Warped Tour, because I kind of like, it was always in the back of my mind, like a thing that I wanted to do, and I've it just seems like such a cool opportunity, and obviously I know you've been, and like it just looks like such a fun time, and cause like my primary fan base is like either Australia or America, so like Warped Tour for me is like the prime place to be. Like, I just wish that I could have had the opportunity to play there one day, so I hope it does come back. But I know that they did try it in the UK, and it wasn't really a great success, to be honest with you. It wasn't what it is in America. It was indoors, and it was a bit smaller and stuff like that. But there are some really great festivals in the UK, like really great festivals. So I have actually played at one of them, which is insane. Like, I still actually can't quite believe that it's like on my little checklist and it's done. So the first one that I played at was Download Festival, and I think it's like one of the biggest UK rock festivals. Surprisingly, it's actually quite literally round the corner from where I live live now. So where I moved to Nottingham, it's super, super close to us, which is amazing because that means that I can pretty much go every year now. But we played 1 year back when I was in my old band Searching Alaska. We won like this Red Bull thing, and that was like an amazing experience. I can still remember it now because the weirdest thing is I was so excited to play it, and I can remember doing it, but my memories of the day, like, I don't remember being on stage. I remember seeing myself on stage, and it's like I had this weird out of body experience, but I think I was just so like hyped up and so excited that like there's no real, like, I can kind of like piece together little bits of it, but I can't really remember everything about it. But it was easily like the best experience of my life. There's like Reading and Leeds, which are quite cool, but they're not like, it's not as heavy as Download Festival, so I haven't really been there for quite a few years. And my number one, if you ever want to come to a festival in the UK, has to be Slam Dunk. It's so good. I go there every single year. It's basically like my yearly kind of like meet fan spot. Like if I meet anyone that like knows me from YouTube, it's always at Slam Dunk. I always like see a bunch of people there because it's just like my prime. All the kind of bands that I listen to over at Slam Dunk, and everyone that's kind of like in that genre, they're all there. And it's a really nice festival that's just like this massive knit of like alternative, pop punk, like, you know, rock bands, and it's just got a bit of everything in it, and it's so good. Like if you ever want to go to a UK festival, I'd highly recommend it. It's not like a weekend thing, it's just like a day festival, but it's genuinely incredible, and that is on my checklist of festivals to play. I really want to do that one year.
Yeah, I want to go to any and all of these festivals. I just need to come over for like a couple weeks and just go to all of them. That's what I need to do.
Yes, I agree. And then you can come to the UK and then you can meet me. It would be great.
Exactly. Yes, everyone. We have yet to meet, and it's very sad.
It sucks. It sucks so bad.
It really does. So so playing that festival, you know, like how did it feel to go from being a fan in the crowd to being on stage to being around those band members, you know, like backstage, and like getting to have that experience, and now like knowing some of these band members as like friends and colleagues? Like, tell me about that.
It's really weird because like it's just something that you don't expect, but like luckily for me, like I am quite grounded in the sense that like, you know, if I saw like a famous person out, I'd never be like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Like, I think internally I'd be a bit like, oh my God, this is that person. But I'm not that kind of person to go up to them and be like, yo, can I have a photo and stuff? Which is really weird because if someone comes up to me and says that, like, I feel like so honored. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. But like for me to do it, I think I've just got like a bit of like a security lockdown where like I don't do that kind of stuff. But it's quite nice though, because like there are some people in bands that like, for example, like Marcus in North Lane, like I remember he messaged me once and he was like, yo, I love all of your stuff on YouTube, do you want to work together? And I was just like, what the hell? And I remember I was at work one day and I was just like freaking out. So like it's really cool, but at the same time it's kind of like, again, I think it's back to that like perspective kind of thing. And I think that's something that's been like a huge eye-opener for me this year. Like everything is not as you think it is. So for example, like, you know, there are people listening to this that will be like, oh my God, this person in this band is like this crazy over the top famous person, when in reality, like, you know, you get to the point where you're in like positions like me or you, where like maybe you might start to know people a little bit more, and it's like actually they lead a really normal life, and you know, some of them might even have like day jobs when they're not touring or something, but it's nice that it grounds you because it kind of makes it like a bit more reachable, and at the end of the day, like everyone's just trying to like reach their passion. So it's cool, but like I like the fact that it grounds me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so funny going back to like the YouTube community and us doing it for so long, and Marcus specifically, like he and I used to chat all the time, you know, like online, you know, because we're all creators. So it's amazing to see that like there is like the same scene we have like locally, there's like the same scene on YouTube. Like all of us know each other, and that's so interesting. And that's why, for everyone out there listening, that's why your, you know, favorite creators or whatever, that's why they keep collaborating with each other, because I don't know, that like you like to create with like-minded people. It's the same as like being in a band, but you know, you're across the world.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's nice for like someone like me, for example, like I don't, you know, there are people that just don't really like doing certain parts in bands. Like I suck at writing instrumentals, I suck at playing guitar, so that's where like, you know, extra content creators come in, and it's just cool because like everyone can kind of put their own little touch in, and it just, yeah, it's just really nice really to have like that online community and that online like group of friends really.
Yeah, especially when it comes to doing covers, you know, like that means that you get to step outside of just recording right over the song, which, you know, we do most of the time anyway, just because like it's tight. But I mean like, and because it's easier, you know, than writing an entire instrumental or whatever, because you may not have the means to do that, like you said, but to be able to collaborate with other YouTubers, it gives you the ability to be more creative yourself because you're in a group.
Exactly, 100%.
So tell me about where you get your singing work outside of, you know, YouTube. Like, where do you find that? Is it like word of mouth? Do you look online?
So originally it was just word of mouth, really. I kind of noticed that people from YouTube were starting to get in touch with me more and more. And then when I kind of decided to take the plunge, I was like, right, I need to kind of look for more places just like as a backup, really. So at the moment I'm doing a lot of work via like Fiverr. So I've got like a Fiverr profile, and then anyone that just wants some nice vocals and they think that my voice is a suit, they can get in contact with me. There's a place called Vocalizer as well, which I think is quite new. It's definitely new to me, and that's quite a cool place as well, depending on what you're looking for. And then I also do a little bit of voiceover work from Upwork. So at the moment, like I'm in this really cool kind of like long-term collaboration with this guy, and he's basically making like a video game which is like quite indie, and it's like medieval set. So I'm like the main character for that, and it's really cool because it's just opened up like a bunch of like crazy new work that like I kind of always thought I could do, but like I never really looked much into it because, for example, like when it comes to the voiceover stuff, like I'm not an actress. Like I can't, you know, I like to think I can act really well, but in reality I probably can't act that well. But doing voiceover stuff, like it's weird to kind of like, you know, I've always kind of thought it would work quite well, and actually getting hired for a job like that and being like a main role in something is really cool.
Wow, that's amazing. So do you know, like off the top of your head, what your Fiverr and Vocalizer profile URLs are?
Yeah, so they're just the same as like my standard username everywhere. So Christina RTND. So if you have a look on Fiverr, there's a bunch of like, you know, weird showreel stuff that, you know, that's the thing as well, like about this kind of stuff online, like because it allows you to kind of go anywhere you want. You know, if you went on Fiverr and you found my profile by searching my name, the music that you hear on there wouldn't necessarily be what you hear on YouTube. It is like, you know, different genres. And, you know, sometimes people upload it to iTunes and I get a message from a fan being like, yo, is this you singing? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. And it's just like really unexpected, but it's cool because it allows you to do like loads of extra stuff.
Tell me about Guitar Hero.
But you know what? It was so long ago, and like, I would love to do something like that again. But basically, it must have been in like 2013, 2014 maybe now. I basically, a bunch of friends used to work at Pinewood Studios, I think. And there was this casting call going out, and they basically were just looking for singers. And I was like, yeah, cool, that's me, I'm a singer. So I applied to it, you know, gave them like a show reel and got through. And that's actually where I've met a bunch of the actors that I've got on my Facebook. So I've got a bunch of actor friends who I met then ages ago, and you know, they were all like professional voiceover actors, so you know, you can understand why they got casted for this, but obviously this is just like, you know, we're just looking for singers as well. So I did I think it was called, is it called like A&R or AR, something like that, voiceover work, where basically like, so we did a bunch of group singing and stuff, and there were songs that is on the latest Guitar Hero, or I think it's the latest one, Guitar Hero Live video game, and we just kind of did like some group singing on that. And then for some of us, they basically picked us out and they were like, right, that girl in the audience there, I basically want you to watch what she's doing with her mouth and then like mimic her, and you kind of like had to do the voiceover of her. So for example, I remember they pointed out this girl to me, which is in one of the 1975 songs. So if you play Guitar Hero Live, find the 1975 song, and then if you see a girl in the crowd and she's going, whoa, oh my god, I love you, in like some fake ass American accent, that is me.
Dude, can you do that again? That was incredible.
Hell to the no.
That's incredible.
Man.
Wow.
Do you know what? I haven't even like played the game, so like I don't have a console or anything. We never got like a game sent to us. But if I ever find someone that has Guitar Hero Live, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find the songs that I know I sang on and I know I voiceovered on, and I'm gonna be like, guys, this is me right here.
Dude, that is insane. That is crazy.
So much fun. So much fun.
Wow, what an amazing opportunity. So did that kind of like spark you to be like, oh my gosh, video games are tight? Like now you're playing like a main role in a video game. Like how crazy is that to you?
Definitely.
And someone that doesn't like necessarily play video games, but
do you know what, like, so the thing is that I used to be like a huge gamer, like before uni days and before the school days and stuff. I used to just sit at home, glued to the PlayStation, and then I would be sit at home, glued to the computer, and then, I kind of grew out of video games and whatnot. And then when I went back to uni, I started working at a local game, and they have like this pre-owned thing where you can get like consoles for really, really cheap, and obviously a staff discount and everything. So I bought a bunch of gaming consoles again and started again. So when I did the voiceover thing for Guitar Hero, do you know what? It kind of just really opened up the idea of session work as a whole for me. It wasn't the fact that it was Guitar Hero, like, don't get me wrong, it was like one of the games I played in my childhood, and that was amazing, but just the experience of it as a whole was like, damn, I really enjoyed doing this, and if I can make money out of this, that's what I want to do. So it just kind of opened up the idea in my head that I really want to do more of this when I'm older. And to be honest with you, for a good few years there was pretty much nothing. Like, this was like an out of the blue opportunity that I found through a friend, through a Facebook share, and that was really it. So it was really hard to find that. I do think a lot of stuff like that is for it is mainly for like, professional voiceover artists. But I think if you do want to get involved into it, like places like Fiverr and Upwork are such a good place to start, because, I'm not doing a whole load of voiceover work, but the fact that at the moment I am doing like another game thing, it's just really, really cool. And the fact that it's on Fiverr, it is like an indie game, but I also did something else for someone that I found on Twitter, and I think his is an indie game as well, but it has been released through a bigger kind of gaming publisher, I guess. And I did a song as one of the like a character for his game, and he was the sound designer. I now have him on Twitter. He follows me, I follow him, and he'll DM me every now and again, and he's like, if we're looking for any more female characters, I'll keep you in mind. And that's purely through like searching for, need a female vocalist, or looking for a female vocalist on Twitter. So it is out there. It's really hard to like find, but if you're interested in that kind of stuff, it's available online, and the internet is like the best place to obviously find it.
Yeah, definitely. And I can definitely attest to Upwork, and I've talked about their site oodles of times on this podcast, because that's one of the main places I get my work. And the great thing about it is, like what you're doing now, like you have like you can get long-term freelancing contracts, and that's awesome to be able to have that security. And I just started one myself with a company that makes hidden gun shelves. So it's like a shelf you hang on your wall, and then you open it and there's just a gun safe. It's insane. It is pretty cool. So let's talk about, the importance of having a real job while you're trying to build your freelancing career, like your own business and a name for yourself.
This one is a bit of like a touchy subject for me, and I more mean
exactly. That's why we're talking about it.
For sure. Yeah. Do you know what? I think because I think me and you have probably spoken about it before. And when I say touchy subject, I more mean that like it's just really difficult, and a lot of people don't really get it. So for me, like, you know, I've always wanted to do music, and my goal was basically to make music my job. That's all I really wanted. I always kind of said to myself, you know what, like, if I can make music my job, whether I'm making, like, you know, just enough to pay my rent and bills, that will be totally fine. That's all I want, because I just didn't want to be unhappy in a job. I knew that eventually I'd have to get like this, you know, full-time 9-to-5 job that I didn't want to do. And yes, I did have to do that, but my main aim was just to basically be happy. The thing about, like, I mean, we'll go a little bit more into like the whole freelancing side of it for now, but like the thing about like going freelancing prior to doing it is making sure that you've got the security to do so, I guess. The thing that used to frustrate me a lot between my friends, like, I had a lot of friends who were, you know, positive enthusiasts, and you know, it's great to kind of have that positive outlook on life, but for someone like me who is like, you know, an overthinker, likes to be really secure, likes to know what the kind of stuff they're getting into before, it was really frustrating to have a bunch of friends who were like, dude, just take the risk, just jump into it, don't even think about it. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and if it's meant to happen, it will happen. In reality, it just doesn't work that way. Like, you know, life throws curveballs at you, and getting a job or having like a full-time job, there's nothing bad in that, because music is your hobby at the end of the day, or anything creative is your hobby, and if it is like bringing you happiness and like you're enjoying what you're doing and you can make time for it, then that's great. Obviously, if it gets to a point where, like, you know, you're working a job and it's getting really difficult, then, you know, it's just a matter of time skills. Like for me, I used to work, you know, 9 to 5, and I say 9 to 5, it would more be like, you know, 8 till 7 every day. And then my weekend time would be dedicated for YouTube, because especially like I didn't want to spend evenings, you know, coming home after work being knackered, being tired, you know, feeling like I had a rubbish day, and then suddenly getting onto a computer, like, and this is why it's going to sound a bit weird, because a lot of people will be like, but that's really weird, like, music's your job. Like, you know, I know people that work full time and then they come home and they've got the energy because they're like, yeah, but I'm passionate about it, and yeah, but I love it, so, you know, I don't care if I have to do 9 hours slaving away at a job. Like, I will come home and I'll sit on my computer and I'll demo. That's just not how it happened for me. Like, I needed that time to reset. I didn't want to like burn myself out. So having a weekend where I didn't have any other commitments was the time that I sat down and did all my music stuff. And I don't think there's anything bad about that. I don't think anyone needs to beat themselves up about it. Like, if you do want to put content out there, I used to upload once a week, and I used to have a full-time job. So like a Saturday or a Sunday, that would be my day to just get everything done. If you're really dedicated and committed, then you can like get it done in like a few hours, you know, and then you're set for another week. But it's about like not burning yourself out. I think a lot of people want to be like motivation, but they don't take a lot of time into like the self-care aspect of it, because if you go overboard, you'll start to hate the stuff that you're doing, and it's just like a huge backward step.
We try to do so many things, and we're also trying to find time for like our personal things that we want to work on. So it's definitely hard and a struggle, but people do need to realize that that's what it takes. You know, that's what it takes to make this work.
It's a long, hard road.
Tell me about times that you have doubted yourself, you know, because you and I have spoken, you know, a couple times about our struggles with, you know, are we doing the right thing? Like, should we keep doing this? You know, so tell me about times you've doubted yourself and how you overcame that.
Oh man, so I'm in one of those times right now, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all, and that's something that I do, like, for anyone that watches any of my content. Like, I don't like to sugarcoat it. Maybe at the moment I'm thinking that I probably haven't sugarcoated it nearly enough as I should be, because I feel like all of my vlogs are having a reoccurring theme of, man, I'm so stressed out. But it is like, it is something that, like, I think people should be a bit more open about. Like, burnout is real, and like being stressed out is real. And like, do you know what? Like, people aren't gonna like it when I say this either, but if you're doing something that you love, like for me, you know, like I said earlier, my goal was to do it full time, and that was it. And I thought that when I reached that, I'd be happy. And I'm not gonna lie to you now, I'm not always happy. And I think that's okay to say. And I think a lot of people do have this outlook of, well, you know, if you're doing it full time, you can't complain about it. And, you know, if you've got to that stage, then you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Just be happy. You've got everything you want. But it is really difficult. Once you kind of take that thing away that used to be your passion and that, you know, was just your hobby, and you turn it into like a full-time thing, you're constantly at this battle of yourself with maintaining that. And you're constantly having to, you know, make sure that you've got everything lined up in place, that everything's going to be okay the next month, and that you're not just going to crash and burn suddenly. And it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of headspace. I have like multiple thoughts that go through my head. So like, you know, I'll get stressed out at the beginning of the month thinking like, you know, oh my God, have I got enough work in this month? You know, I get frequently stressed out about the YouTube algorithm, and that it's not working the way I want it to. And it's frustrating because, you know, I'm making all this content, which is, you know, sometimes takes, you know, days more than other kinds of content creators because it's music and you're doing everything from scratch. I get frustrated that I'm not releasing enough of my own music because I'm focusing too much on covers. I get frustrated that I'm not in a band, and that, you know, at the end of the day, like, I think it all kind of boils down to one thing, and that is, it is really hard being a creative person because your mind just goes everywhere, and it goes everywhere all at once. And I think like it's just so important to like take some days to like have a chill out, have a reset. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it doesn't work. Like, you know, I came out of Christmas and I was like, I'm in this crazy January funk, and everyone was like, take a week off, you know, it's cool, we don't care when you come back, we just want you to be good. And sometimes it's just like pushing through like the creative kind of like bubble that you're in. So like a really small achievement for me today, for example, is like, my last single was released last September, and the one before that was released in 2015. So like I am kind of like slowly chipping away at this original work thing that I want to get done. I need to get an EP done. Anything that I do release or that has been written is not going to be professionally quote unquote done yet, because I want to save like 5 tracks and then release them to the standard of my first single. So for example, like where I just released stuff on YouTube, you know, like it'll be saved for an EP. But today, like, you know, there was a split second of the day where I was like, cool, I've done all of like the other paid work that I need to do for today. I'm really randomly gonna try and write down like an instrumental, and I haven't sat down and tried to write original music, even like attempted, for probably like 4 to 5 months. So even though I am in a bit of a creative slump, like that is like a little bit of a victory for me. I think in general it is really hard to kind of keep going sometimes, like I said, especially if it's not just your hobby, because you're constantly in this like argument with yourself. But I think it's just the kind of thing that you just have to not beat yourself up. And for me, like one of my resolutions is I want to try mindfulness, because I'm just kind of I'm that person that just constantly overthinks all the time about everything possible. So it's going to be a learning curve for me, but I do think that like you just need to give yourself time out basically. But it is hard, and I think it's even harder having people like judge how you're supposed to be acting and stuff. But like everyone creative goes through it. Like something really great that my friend said to me, who's also a YouTube content creator full-time, the other day, he was like, look, just like your positivity and your motivation is up and you get loads of content done, it will also go down. It's just how it works.
Yeah, and like you said, like the YouTube algorithm not working for you, like I think a lot of us are struggling with that. Like, again, not to really go back to the YouTube situation, but I mean, it's a very, very true thing. And it's such a challenge now. And I want to go back a little bit about, you know, like maybe not having like months without work, you know, like I personally, right when I got back from Warped Tour, I couldn't get work. I couldn't get paid work that was legit for like 2 months. And that is so stressful as a freelancer, because you're like, oh my God, like I'm just living off of my, you know, the money I've made. And it's so mentally like draining and exhausting. And how do you mentally like overcome, you know, like you said, like your doubts and your negative feelings toward what you're doing in yourself?
I think like as long as you're trying to do everything that you can, that's all you can do. Like, I mean, in reality, like I've only been doing this for, I say a few months now. I think it's been like 5 or something like that. So, you know, I haven't really got to the stage where, you know, I'm in deep trouble really. But, you know, like the thing is about it is that I know that there are going to be really hard months to come. And I think if you go in knowing that, and you make sure that you're just set up in the right way, then that's the most that you can do. Like, you know, for me, I purposely moved to a place in the UK where rent is cheap and, you know, I'm sharing with my boyfriend. So, you know, I'm not paying huge amounts. Like the thing is about like freelancing, something that a lot of people say, and it's quite frustrating to hear as another freelancer, I'm not going to lie. A lot of my friends, or just, you know, if I know someone that is a freelancer or someone says they're a freelancer, you know, the next kind of comment that someone might say is, yeah, well, you know, they live with their parents. And I'm like, it's slightly different. Like, and you know, it's no like insult to anyone living with their parents. You know, you got to do what you got to do. But like, for example, I would never, I wouldn't be able to be going freelance. Some people might not be able to be going freelance if they didn't live with their parents. So it's kind of like, if I can manage to sustain and support myself through the money that I'm making and pay rent and bills with it, then I'm kind of like truly doing enough that I can, because I know that I'm covering like my outgoings and all that kind of stuff. So like, this is going off on another tangent, but like, stress. Where am I going with this? Oh, it's going off. But you know what I mean? Basically what I'm saying is like, as long as like you are mentally like prepared for the worst that's going to happen, and like you are secure and like, you know, you've got some savings or whatever, and as long as like you've got some money saved up, like I'm of the understanding that it's not going to be peaches and cream all the time, and that's totally fine. Like that's what it's going to be. That's what it's like being a freelancer. Everyone that goes into it, or most people know that, and they take that risk, and it's that risk that it's the happiness that overweighs that, and you know, having the freedom and stuff that you want to do. Basically, you kind of just gotta know that it might happen, but as long as like you're organized enough and planned out, then you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me about some times, if you've dealt with them, that you've been screwed over when trying to get work.
Oh man, I have such a good one for this, and I don't know if I think you've probably seen the tweets or something. Okay, so basically, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know how much I'm allowed to speak about this really, but I don't really care either, because I'm pretty sure someone just tried to scam me. Basically, so with like those websites like Fiverr, obviously people will find you, and there is pretty much the ability for anyone to find you. So I got contacted from someone on my personal email who basically said that they had found me on Fiverr, which was great, you know. And it's one of those things that's a learning curve, because I always work to a certain way, and this time I just didn't. And, you know, it's something that's made me go, okay, right, do you know what? Like, that rule that you had, it was a rule for a damn good reason. But basically, like, they wanted me to work on their track, and I was like, yeah, okay, no worries. Listen to the track, it seemed okay. But it was kind of really when it got down to the recording that things kind of seemed a bit odd. So the track itself wasn't my normal genre, let's say. It was a bit odd, and for the person that had written it, it was just a bit of a strange track, but you know, it was very professionally done. Like, the melodies were there, the lyrics were there, there was even like music notation, and it was all great, but we did agree to a lower fee than what I would normally work for. But you know, sometimes you've got to do that. My rule of thumb as a musician, if you are thinking about being a musician, it might be quite a good tip, is that, for example, if I'm working on a track with someone, even if there's a contract in place, even if you know, they seem like a really legit person, is I will always ask for the BPM of the song, so then I can essentially watermark my track with the click track, but obviously, you know, in terms of music wise. So if I'm sending over vocals, whether that is something I've written or something they have written for me and I'm just laying down the vocals, they then cannot either rip my vocals out of the track or simply upload it and export it without having a very annoying click over the top. That's generally my rule. When I tried that on this instance, the person was basically like, no, I can't hear it. And I'm like, dude, if you can't like take the click track out of your mind, like it's very low in the mix, like just to be able to hear my vocals and hear what you actually want out of it, then that's quite odd to me. But he was basically like, look, I'll pay you a bit of a deposit for you to complete the work, just so you know that I'm not going to basically run off with the money. And I was like, okay, fine, no worries. Anyway, this like one song basically went over and over for about the space of like a month and a couple of weeks. And for me, that's like unheard of. Like, you know, I complete work, especially something that's already been written, lyrics done, melodies done, everything. All I need to do is track it. That would take no more than like a week, absolute max for me. So the fact that we were still going at this like a month, like 6 weeks later was just crazy. To cut all the boring stuff out the way, we basically got to the end of it. And when I sent over the final bounce, this guy was like, this is really weird. It sounds like you've slowed the whole track down, or like the pitch has changed. And he was like, your vocals basically don't fit with the instrumental. Like you're completely out of tune, you're completely out of time. And I was like, whoa there. I was a bit like, the fact that you think I'd send something over like that is a bit insulting, because like I'm not doing this to like scam anyone. I'm not doing it for fun. Like I know how to sing in tune, I know how to sing in time, I use pro stuff, like all of my equipment is like legit. What I think he might have done is, I think there might have been like an issue with like the frame rate, the sample rate settings in Logic, but this person was basically like, nope, not having any of it. And they basically threatened to like sue me, and they said like if I post their name or anything about this anywhere, like they'd basically get their team of 9 in India to like write loads of stuff about me online, and through like the power of like SEO. He was like, yeah, I own multiple companies, and I literally work for marketing, like that is my job. Like I will literally like ruin your name on the internet. You're not getting a penny out of me. Do you know what? At first I laughed about it, and then I was kind of like a bit scared, because it was just like, I am this small person online essentially, and I do know what the internet is like. And it got to the point where I was like, do you know what, for the amount of measly money that he said he was going to pay me for this track, I would not want my name anywhere near, associated with the track anyway. And for the amount of money, I was like, do you know what? It's just not worth it, because if anything does go online about my name, and he can do what he claims, it's just like, I couldn't be bothered with the hassle. Do you know what I mean? But it was definitely a massive learning curve. But yeah, he basically eventually he got the vocals. He claimed he wasn't going to use them, but he did get the vocals. He got the stems without any click track on them. So I don't know if he'll use them. I don't know if it's around online. I've still got all the proof on my computer, like saved just in case he goes a bit crazy. But yeah, stuff like that is a bit scary, just because for like someone like me, like, I am the only person doing this. It is just me. There's no team. There's no nothing behind me. So you do kind of have to be a bit wary, even with stuff like that is fake, they're just lying. It's better to kind of be safe than sorry, really. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've dealt with, similar situations, and it's really hard as a freelancer getting work online, because you just don't know. And it's, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but like, you just can't. It's really hard to become trustworthy when something like that happens as well, because now, for example, like, I kind of change things up a bit. So from now on, no one will ever be getting a song without a click track. And 90% of my features will be done with a deposit up front now. And if anyone ever contacts me outside of Fiverr to do it over email, it's just not going to happen. So it's a shame, but like, you do have to protect yourselves for things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard for me as like a filmmaker, because like I do get clients that email me, and like I have to like take it upon myself to research who they are and like see if they're legit, and like I've dealt with, I recently actually had a company pose as another company and essentially like robbed me of a ton of money because they sent me a fraudulent check, and like it was just this, it's a horrible situation, like what people do online. But yeah, tell me something you know now that you wish you knew when you started.
Oh, do you know what? I think it will have to be that it's not going to be happy days all the time. And it's coming to terms with being okay with that. Reaching, I think I made a tweet about this the other day. Like, the hardest thing for me is basically reaching like one of your lifetime goals and not being over the moon happy with it, because at the end of the day, like, there's just so much extra that comes with it. I think if I'd have known that, I'd have maybe like eased myself into it a little bit. I feel like I am kind of like stuck in a deep end, and I think I just kind of needed to really warn myself that it is going to be something that I have to ease myself into, and it will get easier over time, and it has got easier over time. You know, when I first started, I was a nervous wreck at the beginning for the first few months. Like, I'm talking like, you know, crying every month, getting really stressed out. And I think if I could give anyone any advice, that is what it would be. Like, you know, it's not going to be easy, but that's totally okay, because you're diving into like the unknown, and everyone goes through the same. I went through like a bunch of other freelancer friends, and I was like, guys, do you feel the same? And they were like, yeah, don't worry, honestly, like, you know, it is really scary at first. Like, you are doing something huge, but it's going to be fine. And it's basically allowing yourself to be okay with that.
Amazing. So give me and the listeners any final advice and where we can find you on social media. And I mean, we already got your Fiverr, but if you want to say that again, go for it.
Cool. So last piece of advice is that it's okay not to be okay, and don't beat yourself up about it, especially as a creative, because there are so many creative people. I think creative people are probably the ones that go through some of the biggest ups and downs, and it's literally just part of having a creative mind. So, you know, it's cool. Don't stress too much. Easier said than done, but I think it's just comfort knowing that everyone kind of goes through it. You can find me on YouTube. You can either pop in Christina Rotondo, or you can type in youtube.com/Christina shouts out. My Instagram and Twitter, Snapchat, all that kind of stuff is Christina RTND. My Facebook is Christina RTND official. But I do have a pretty strange surname, so if you search Christina Rotondo, you'll probably find it.
Exactly. All right. So thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me so much.
Well, I, for one, had a blasty blast being a part of that podcast. I hope you guys had as much fun listening to it as I had making it. It was great. Christina, thank you again for being on the podcast this week. It means a lot to me that you took the time out of your busy United Kingdom rainy day to talk to me for a little while. Guys, if you want to keep up with Christina, go check her out. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. Christina Rotondo. I will put all of her links down below, as well as links to my personal things, kanagoniophotography.com, at kanagoniophotography on Instagram and Facebook. If you guys want any advice or anything, please feel free to either DM me, leave a comment below, head over to my website, shoot me an email, whatever you guys want. This podcast is for you. I am here to help you guys grow as freelancers, so please let me know at Kanagonio Photography, either on Instagram or Facebook, or kanagoniaphotography.com. Please don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, leave a rating and a comment below, and I will talk to you guys next week.